Hello, friends, and welcome to Tim Kirby Russia, where I, political analyst and radio talk shows Tim Kirby, tell you what the world looks like through a Russian lens. And today's guest is a very particular Russian lens that I don't think we've used before on this program. Her name is Elena Bakunova, and she has a super successful, life travel YouTube channel. She is Russian, and her channel sort of shows a very interesting take, a youthful, energetic take on life in Russia, which is a sort of viewpoint we haven't talked much about in this program. Usually comes from Old Man Tim. So we're going to talk to her very soon about that. But for now, let's have a quick chat about how generations, age, children, and all play into our political perspectives. So, when I was in college, there was this theory that eventually all the Republicans would simply die out. That judging by the statistics, there were very few young Republicans, and after 20 years, I'm out of college about 20 years now, that everyone would be a Democrat basically, and the only Republicans left would be some weird old hillbillies with Confederate flags and all that. That was the idea. But as time went on, some of these older conservatives got replaced. Why? How did that happen? Well, the thing is, people had kids. I can tell you one thing is that when you have children, it really does change your attitude towards things, your priorities, and it tends to make people a little bit more politically conservative. Even if they're still liberal, very often it can sort of push them in a little bit of a different direction where they're very concerned, let's just say, not so much about themselves, but about other people, which definitely has a political context, right? Now, this isn't just for some sort of demographics and voting issues, but on a sort of policy-making level. In Russia, they've been discussing for a while, kind of quietly, that maybe because if a person has kids, then they are more likely to have conservative and traditional values, which are in line with Russia's values. Maybe it should be mandatory for entry for someone to go into certain government positions. Maybe they should have to have a kid. I mean, if we can already in Russia restrict people from having a second, dual citizenship, or there's some other qualifiers that don't allow them to take power anymore without fulfilling certain obligations, especially that citizenship one, then why not force them to have kids too? Why not make sure that everyone in the government has gone through this process of having children that they have to look after? Because otherwise, how do they really know what families want? How do they really know what it's like to take care of someone and to sort of contribute or give to someone other than themselves? It's kind of an interesting idea, interesting philosophical concept. And I can tell you one thing, that one of the big problems of the West is that a lot of the people who have the most time to complain online, to be hysterical, to be activists, are all the people who don't have kids. You see, one of the reasons I think why, one of the many, many reasons, but one of why, in a lot of ways, especially Western politics have skewed very, very far to what we might call the left or progressivism or wokeism or so on and so forth, is that the people who believe in that sort of ideas, in those sort of ideas, generally they have a ton of freaking free time. They don't have kids because of their sexual preference or some other reason or pure selfishness. And so they have all this time, and all their resources can be dedicated to whining and complaining online or being dedicated to their careers. They don't have any sort of binds holding them in place, making their lives harder, demanding more energy to get things done. And so I think that we've really created, especially in the social media era, the people who sort of have nothing to do and nothing going on can in a lot of ways be the most politically active. So anyways, those are just my thoughts on that topic. And why am I talking about that? Because our guest is way younger than I am, and she does not have kids, and she has a huge 250,000 audience who are also the younger generation who are now mysterious to me. I could be all of their dads, I'll put it that way. So anyways, we're going to talk to Elena Bakunova right now. Now, because you're in a different generation from myself, you're in a different information realm. So maybe you could tell me, around Moscow, how has the younger generation reacted to the beginning of the special operations, the sanctions, the changes in life that have been going on?
As I notice it, most people, of course, are very angry at what the government is doing. And at first everyone was just shocked, because for us Ukraine is our brother country, and in the beginning no one could believe at what's happening. And in the beginning there were a lot of riots and rallies, then it didn't help, and now people are just, I think, desperate, because they see that they can't do anything. But overall I think most people are just angry with the actions of the government, because, you know, we're just normal people. We wanted to live normal life, to be connected with the international community. And even when I talk to older people than me, they talk how it was difficult to live during the 90s in Russia, when there was the Iron Curtain, and when this Iron Curtain finally dropped, they were so happy to see what's beyond Russia. They started to travel, finally being part of international community. And now Russia is becoming more isolated again, so people are not happy about this, that they're losing these opportunities to travel or other things, and feel very sorry for the Ukrainians. And right now it's just, I think, people waiting when all of this is gonna stop, and live in a unknown, like they don't know what to expect in the future at all.
Now, about a year ago, I think I was on your channel to discuss this whole Russian woman stereotype, right? I personally believe that stereotype is either false or it has become false over time. This idea that there are these perfect Russian women who want to wait on their husband's hand and foot while wearing like a cocktail dress, but also maintaining a perfect figure and having 7 kids. That's fake. It doesn't exist. I kind of wish it did, but it doesn't. So now it's my turn to ask you, what do you think of the Russian woman stereotype? Is it true? Where does it come from? Why are foreign men so obsessed with this?
Well, I think it's not me to ask why the Russian woman is a thing abroad. I still don't understand it. Why? Because there are so many other and beautiful, etc. women all over the world, and why is this Russian woman a thing? I think because men in the West are a bit tired with feminism, and women being a bit more masculine. I mean, not feminine. And maybe that's why they think that in the Slavic cultures, women are feminine and much more family-oriented. That's why they are so interested in Russian women. It's all relative, you know. I can't say that in Russia all women are like that, but if we compare, for example, to Europe or the US, of course, I would say that Russian women are much more family-oriented, and even girls of my age, for example, my classmates that I studied with at school, they're like 24, 25, and many of them are already married, and some of them even have kids. And I think in Europe this age isn't common for family and having kids. And my friends are very happy about this, and they love all this family stuff and cooking and looking after their husband and children. So, but in Moscow it's quite different, I would say, because in Moscow I think women are more career-oriented, and in Moscow women would get married at like 30 years old maybe. So it's quite different in different parts of Russia. there is Moscow, and there are regions, and women there are quite different.
So what type of content about Russia is the most interesting for your audience? Where were the big hits and misses?
Top videos on my channel are a video about Yakutsk, the coldest city on the planet, and overall video from Yakutia region, the biggest region of Russia and the coldest, a very far away and remote place. That's why I think these videos did very well. And overall my videos from the expedition to the far north of Russia, I would say these videos are unique not only for the international audience but even for Russians, because I know very few Russians who would go there, because overall our climate is pretty harsh, cold, so Russians prefer to travel to Thailand, Turkey, or somewhere in the south of Russia. So the places where I traveled are uncommon even for Russians and very interesting. Like I lived with the reindeer herders, I went to the coldest places of the earth, I lived with ethnic minorities of the north. So I think I've got some very unique videos, and these videos did pretty well on my channel. That's why now I'm also planning to set for some expeditions to non-touristic, off the beaten path places, and to continue showing the diversity of Russia and some other unique places.
One very odd thing about Russians is they seem to really like watching English language content about Russia. I know that's weird. Trust me, I'm not going to be watching any Chinese, Hindu, Swahili content about the United States. I know all about it, right? So I don't know why Russians do this, but they do. So what does your Russian audience think about all this? Do you have a ton of Russian people watching you talk about Russia and English? And first off, and secondly, what do they say about all this?
So about your first point, like Indians making videos about the US, I think those videos would be interesting to watch for Indian audience, like Indian talking about the US for Indians, and they watch like, how can I also move to the US, what it's like to live there, how do people treat Indians. So I think it's just another audience. And you say that it's popular for Russians to watch content in English. I don't know really, because on my channel I have less than 3% of Russian audience, like very few. I think about 30% of my audience is from the US. Then I have Canada, the UK, Australia, Philippines, India, and other many countries, and Russia is like 3%. I have very rare comments on my channel from Russian people, and usually these people tell me, why do you make videos in English? You should be making videos in Russian. Your channel is really weird. That it's weird that you make videos in English. Just stop to show off. Just make videos in Russian. And usually Russians make comments how bad my English is, how bad my accent is, and they just write like, stop making videos in English, stop embarrassing us, I don't know. But there are also some comments like, wow, I didn't know about these places in Russia, you motivated me to travel in Russia. And even last month I went to the city Pitigorsk and I met a girl, my follower, and she was like, you motivated me to come to this city. So that was pretty cool. But overall, I don't have many Russian people watching my channel, and even when my subscribers were talking why I didn't speak out, for example, about the situation in Ukraine, and even though I didn't support of what the Russian government was doing, what's the point for me to make a video about it on my YouTube? Just to like satisfy my American audience, okay, but what's the point if I don't even have any Russian audience? So I thought, like, logically, if there is no point to make a video about this, as I don't have people from Russia watching me, and I thought that for me it's better to make videos showing the American audience that not all Russia is evil, as many people think. And by the way, it was weird for me that when I talked to my Ukrainian friends, they were talking to me as usual, no hate, nothing. But on my channel there was so much hate from the Western audience, and I decided to continue making the videos just to show that Russians are normal people. We're not some, I don't know, drunk bears with balalaika who got out of the forest and want to fight everyone. And I decided that maybe now my channel's mission is to show that Russians are normal people, to show that we also have our culture, which is not only about military. And now I think my channel is kind of a bridge between the West and Russia. I think for Russians it's interesting to watch the experience of foreigners living in Russia and to get their perspective. Because, for example, I have a YouTuber friend from the UK who is making videos here, and most of her audience is Russian, because I guess they like to see what it's like, why did the girl from the UK move to Russia, and what experiences she has here. But for Russians, I think it's maybe just not so interesting to watch a Russian girl traveling in Russia.
Now, on a personal level, how have things for you as this very successful YouTuber and, we'll say, Urbanite woman changed for you since the start of the special operation? So how has your life been directly and specifically affected? And do you own your own apartment in Moscow? Because that can really divide people into two very different groups in terms of when economic crises happen. Unfortunately, all I've got is a house in the woods around Chekhov.
Life changed a lot, of course, because before I had so many plans about traveling and also with my YouTube channel, like collaborations with some companies, all of them cancelled because of the sanctions with Russia. And as I mentioned before, there was a lot of hate on my channel for, I guess, because I wasn't speaking out as everyone was expecting. But again, I didn't see the point if I don't have people from Russia watching me. And as now there is like this huge thing about the canceling Russian culture. For example, I know that in Italy, at schools now they forbid to read Dostoevsky, Tolstoy, etc. Russian athletes are being banned from competitions, or ballet dancers, etc. And I saw this cancellation of the whole culture. I thought that maybe, I mean, at first I thought that my videos would be out of place, but when I saw this whole canceling the whole culture, I decided to continue my channel to show people that our culture is not only about the military. So I would say that perception of international audience about my channel changed a lot. Overall, I'm continuing to do the same videos, so my life didn't change that much, but how these videos perform and are being perceived by other people changed. Well, for Russians now it's quite difficult to plan any trips abroad, for example, and before it was very difficult when ruble collapsed. Now it's okay, but it's still, many flights are cancelled or they're taking longer. So that's the biggest change, I think. And you asked about renting an apartment. Yes, I rent an apartment in Moscow. It's not my place. But I would say I'm a bit privileged because I don't rent from some random people. I rent from my acquaintances of my mom. So I can pay like whenever I want. So it's a bit easier for me.
So, as an everyday Russian woman, what do you think are the best things and the worst things about living in Russia? What are the big positives and big negatives about life in this country?
I think it depends which city of Russia, because life in Moscow and different city and other cities is very different. I love living in Moscow because I think, honestly, Moscow is one of the most convenient and cool cities to live in. And I say this as a person who lived in the US, who lived in Vietnam, so in Asia, and also I spent almost a year in Italy. And when I compare all these experiences, I see that Moscow is convenient in everything, like transport, public transport, metro is super cool. Also, I love how many opportunities there are in Moscow. There is always something going on. What are the other advantages? Yeah, I think that public transport in Russia is super cool. You don't necessarily have to own a car. Like, it was very difficult for me, for example, when I lived in West Virginia and I was just stuck in my town, and I was surprised that there wasn't public transport from the town where I lived, West Liberty. So yeah, I love transportation in Russia, freedom to move anywhere you want without a car. Well, and food, I would say, because I love the quality of food here, and if we compare to Europe and the US, let's say, it's much easier. It's much cheaper to live here and easier to pay your checks for renting an apartment, food, other costs. Of course, in the US you get higher salary, but expenses are also huge. And overall, I think that in Russia you have more money left, even after taxes, after everything. You have more money left for life, for traveling, for entertainment, I don't know.
So anyways, guys, if you enjoyed this video and you like the opinions coming out of my big fat mouth, then join up on my Telegram channel. That's Tim Kirby Hardcore on Telegram. Link, of course, in the description.